Welcome to this session on B4B for Sun Systems. B4B is a module provided by Professional Advantage. Professional Advantage are the Asia Pacific's largest Sun Systems reseller and partner, and we are also the largest global development partner for Infor in relation to Sun Systems products. Professional Advantage produce a number of different tools that are utterly integrated to Sun Systems and focused on providing additional functionality or different user interfaces in and around the outside of Sun Systems where this may be required for your organisation. The advantage of Professional Advantage modules is that there is always a corresponding upgrade path when you move forward with a version of Sun Systems, and also they're designed to lever off any functionality that comes into Sun Systems during such an upgrade. B4B is part of the Professional Advantage Cash Management Suite. The Cash Management Suite is comprised of 3 different modules. These are eRemit, which allows the generation of remittances after you've run payments within Sun Systems, and the dispatch of those remittances to suppliers by email as a PDF or RTF attachment. The second element is bank reconciliation. This offers a very specialised bank reconciliation functionality in one place that does everything you need to keep track of your bank details on a day-to-day basis. This is more specialised than the use of Reconciliation Manager within Sun Systems. The third part of the Cash Management Suite is B4B. This is what we're going to be talking about today, and it provides a link between Sun Systems and the EFT upload functionality provided by your banking solution. For example, if you were using Barclays Business Internet Banking, this would allow you the function to upload payments of various different types directly into their system. B4B acts as a bridge between Sun Systems when you generate payments for your suppliers and the upload to the bank. B4B for Sun Systems, or Banklinks, provides a link between the Sun Systems Generate Payment functionality and the various types of upload that you can do to your bank directly. It is easy to use, it is sophisticated, and it allows you to manage bank details that you would normally manage within Sun Systems in a much more effective fashion, and also provides functionality for various different types of payments and the complexities around that. It is particularly good at dealing with international payments as well as domestic payments. B4B is not a link to Baxtel IP, it is a link directly to your bank, and in this way you can actually lever off the functionality provided by your banking solutions without having to pay the use of agencies, etc. One of the key benefits of B4B is its capability in the area of local and international payments. The upload functionality it supports includes CHAPS, Faster Payments, BACS and SEPA, which is the Single European Payment Area, and we have many different formats to support all of these types of payment for every different type of bank. We have a large library of formats that currently runs in excess of 220, and we are always producing new formats to support banks as required. If during an implementation we do not have an existing format available for you, we can produce this as part of the implementation. It allows for multinational organisations to set up global payment operations from a single source due to the fact that they can spread payments out to different banking systems and support many different types of bank and payments from the one implementation. B4B is very powerful, but is also very secure. It allows for the control and understanding of bank details, and it also includes an approval workflow process that kicks in when you change a bank detail within B4B. The system allows for an email to be generated and sent out to your approvers, who then would log into the system and approve any changes to the bank detail prior to it being picked up for any payment run. The system encrypts all the data within its own database as part of the process, and it has audit controls and checks around any changes to data, including bank details, but also the transactional processes itself. It has a systems audit and all controls concluded in relation to passwords and segregation of roles within the system as part of your payment security. We also cope with PGP encryption where this is required by your banks. For example, HSBC are now actually accepting PGP public key encryption files, and we are able to produce encrypted files for the upload where needed. Where your bank supports this, we will be bringing in formats to support that correspondingly. B4B is very easy to use. You can log into this on an individual PC or through Citrix, but it is also possible to embed links within Sun Systems where this may be required, including Sun Systems 5 and Infor 10. The system eliminates the manual processes that may be required if you are rekeying payments into your banking system directly, and you can actually achieve a payment process at probably 3 clicks of a button. Once you've generated the payment within Sun, You log into B4B, extract the payments from that payment process, and then upload them to your bank by producing an output file. B4B has a very easily recognised return on your investment. It saves time and effort in payment transfer activity for your finance staff and reduces inaccuracy and the effort spent in rekeying data or changing bank details where this may not be required. It reduces the cost by allowing you to use your bank's own payment services, which generally are cheaper than the use of an agency or an external bank's process, particularly when you're dealing with domestic transfers. By bringing international and domestic transfers into the same framework, allowing you to use the same tool to upload those payments through your bank, it reduces the time and effort in dealing separately with international transfers. Finally, the solution is designed and developed specifically for Sun Systems and understands Sun Systems out of the box. It is used by a large proportion of Sun Systems users globally, and there is a very recognised ROI on its implementation. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague who will show you some of the processes within B4B, but on the screen here we have a value statement made by one of our previous customers where they have seen massive gains by use of B4B.
I'm going to log into B4B and have a look at some of the standard functionality, and I'll show you a payment process. If you imagine that I've already gone into Sun Systems and run a payment using a generate payment profile, and that's already sitting there, payments in the Sun ledger have already been made, and I have a batch of payments that now need to be transferred out to the banking system. So to do that, I'm going to log into B4B. B4B is a concurrent user license, so you can take any number of licenses that you require and then install B4B on a number of different user PCs, and only users up to that account can log in. So it's similar in a licensing sense to Sun Systems, but when we log into B4B, we're not actually taking a Sun Systems license, so we can actually deploy this to as many users as you like. They don't even need to have Sun Systems on their machine. You could launch B4B through a Citrix or terminal server environment if you wanted to, but I'm just going to log in locally here. I do have a number of different IDs set up that I can use, and I'm going to log in initially as an ID that's set up for controlling bank details. So this person doesn't have access to actually run a payment, but they do have access to make changes to the bank details. The first thing that we can see on the screen is that we need to select a Sun Systems business unit or database that we wish to work against. So we configure this for each database within Sun Systems, and if I hit the drop down, you can see that I've only got one database set up here, but we could have many appearing here, and once I select that, it will take me to the B4B main screen. Everything within B4B is controlled based on the type of payments that you want to make. So the first decision that you need to make is, what am I going to pay? Is it going to be cross-border payments, local payments, international payments? Which bank is it that I wish to make the payments to? So if we hit the format type drop down, and we can see a list of all the formats that I have installed. Here I've got one for Barclays Business Master International and one for Barclays Business Master 3-day payments for domestic payments. So that's the choice that I need to make. Am I going to make international payments, UK payments, or whatever bank it is that I'm using? And we could have an extensive list available to you depending upon the banks that you actually have set up. So I'm going to go and have a look at 3-day payments first of all. And on the left hand side you can see that this particular user is locked out of the extract host payments function, and that's because this user doesn't actually have access to make payments. Rather, they have access to controlling bank details, so the supplier target bank details, and you can make amendments to those. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the target bank details. So this brings us into an area where I can go and examine a drop down of all of the supplier records set up within Sun Systems. So if I hit the account code drop down, these are my supply records being driven directly from Sun. There is that integration there that if I were to add a new supplier record into Sun Systems, then it would appear in this drop down. And then by choosing one of these, I'm able to see the bank payment details So if I select an account, I can see the account name, number, the sort code, the bank name, and the bank branch. If I go back to the main screen and select international payments and go back into the target bank details area, we'll now be able to see the bank detail record that I'm capturing for the international format. So if I select a particular account, I can see all the details around that. The IBAN number, SWIFT codes, all of the information required for an international format, and if Barclays requires certain fields to be filled out in relation to this format, then those fields will appear on this screen. And if we need the IBAN number to be fixed so that it has to be a certain length, we could enforce that as part of the capture of the bank details here. So if we go back to our local payment format and select the target bank details, if I was to come in here and select a particular account and then make a change to the account number, then that is now regarded as a change within B4B. So I can select to save that change that I've made, and it will pop up with a box asking me for a reason why I've changed that bank detail. So that's just capturing the audit detail around why I've made the change to these bank details. So I could say supplier requested change, and I can say OK, and that's now saved. So if I went out of this record and came back in, I can see that that record is now locked pending approval, and that means that this record will remain locked and I won't actually be able to make payments using this particular record until it has been approved. So what it will do now in the background is to send out an email to my administrator saying you've got a request for a change. It will tell them the reason for that change, and it will tell them the account in relation to that. So my approval user who has that email now has the option to come into the system and make a change and say yes, that's great, I accept the new record. So if I log out as the bank user, if we log in as my approval user, then this user has more power and more permissions within the system. So again, I need to select my database that I'm working against. And the first thing that we'll notice when I select a particular format, I can see that I've got an additional button available to me on the screen here. So I have an approvals button at the top. And if I go into this area, I can have a look at my target bank details, and I can see whether I have any records that are awaiting my approval. I can see here the account that I made the changes to, so if I select that, it will show me the user that made that change, the date and time that it was made, and the reason for that change. So as an approver, I could go and approve or reject this change, but perhaps I want to see more detail around what has happened to that record. So I could go and select my inquiries tab and say show bank record, and then I could have a look at the change that was actually made. Alternatively, I could select to show the audit report for this bank detail, and the audit report itself is quite useful because it shows me a complete history of all of the changes to this bank detail and what has happened in the past. So not just the current change, but it will build up to show me a complete history of all changes that have occurred within this bank record. And I can print that and view that as many times as I wish to. So if I'm happy with the change, then I can actually select to approve that change, and it will disappear because that particular record will now be unlocked. So if I go back to my main screen and select my target bank details and select the record that we've just approved, then you'll see it's no longer locked pending approval, and I can actually make payments using that particular bank detail and format now. So what I'm going to do now is actually make a payment. So if I log out of B4B as my approval user, and this time log in as a user that's actually going to make payments. Again, I'm going to choose my B4B demo database. And I'm going to make some local payments. So I'm going to select my local 3-day payment format there. And I can see now that this user has access to the extract host payments function. So they have that additional functionality available to them. They have access to the extract host payments area. And if I were to select to extract host payments, then the first thing I need to do is to choose the payment profile in Sun that I've used to run my payments. So if I hit the drop down, I've got one here set up for local bank payments. And that is a Sun Systems generated list, so if you were to create a new payment profile in Sun Systems, it would automatically appear on this screen here. So I'm going to select the local bank. It will warn me if I have run this already, so I can actually override this because of the permissions that I've set up, and it will give me multiple warnings, which is obviously a good thing, because you don't want to be running duplicate payments accidentally in the background. So it does understand what has happened in the past there. So I'm going to say yes, and it will allow me to validate payments to check that all of the information is correct. So if I run the validation, then I can view the validation report, and it will show me there that I have 5 records that I'm able to make a payment up to the bank with there. So then I can extract those from Sun Systems and bring them into the B4B environment ready to be sent out to the banking system. So if I select to extract, then it will run down all of those payments, and I'm able to actually view the extraction report. So if I select to view the extraction report there, then I can see that 5 payments have now been created within B4B. So it's cleared down that batch within Sun Systems and brought them through into the B4B environment. And I can see, if I close this report, that I now have those payments sitting there ready to upload to the banking system. So this red code at the top here is indicating that I've now got a batch of UK local business master payments ready to go within B4B and pay up to the banking system. If I wanted to, I could batch up further payments, so I could go and choose another payment profile or rerun something in Sun Systems using local bank again. I could run multiple batches in here by extracting, and then they'd all be sitting there ready to go, and I could send one file up to the bank based on the payment profile and the payment type that I am making. So now that I've extracted into here, the next step and the final step within B4B is to create the file, which will then be available to send to the banking system. So if I go back to my main screen, if we first of all take a look in format parameters, then in the background we've set that it will do various things. So it will create the file in a certain directory within your server or on your machine. Now normally we'd set that up to be a secure directory that's only accessible by B4B and users logged into the banking system. So we'd configure that to ensure the security there. And we can define things like the transaction reference that will be mapped to the output file, and how your audit referencing occurs within here. So there's quite a few other functions that we can go into around mapping of the bank file, maybe grabbing some T-codes from the ledger transaction and bringing that in as part of the reference. So there really is plenty of flexibility around how you do the referencing, how you do the batching within the output file going to the bank. But if we already have all of that set up, then I can select to create the bank file, and it gives it a file name which we can define in the background, or we can have the system automatically implement it and give it a new number there. And we can actually apply things such as reason codes, reason text, to make sure that it's understandable within the file what it actually is that we're sending there. But I'm going to map it with supplier as my reason text there. So what I can do then is to say to validate, and it will check that I've already got the file, but it's going to allow me to overwrite it. So if I select to validate it, it will warn me that the file already exists, but I can say OK, and then I can select to create the bank file. So then it will close down the payments and clear the batch down in B4B and produce a payment report which will match the output that was sent to the bank. So I can see there I've got those 5 payments ready to be sent to the banking system. And that really is your B4B process. So if we go back to the main screen, just to reiterate, all we've done is log in to extract host payments from the main menu, chosen my payment profile and said extract. I've then gone and created the bank file, and it's now produced a file ready to go to the banking system. So I've now finished my payment process within B4B and have a file sitting there which I can go and make my payments to the bank with. If I open up Internet Explorer, then we can actually go and have a look at that file that has been created by B4B there. So my 5 payments have been produced there in a file format that's sitting there ready to be transferred to Barclays. And you can see that it's now in a format which is acceptable to Barclays, and they've asked for a very simple CSV file format that we can see there, but it could be that you were looking at a Swift format or an MT90 format. Every bank seems to have its own format, so that would appear depending upon your bank format there. So all I need to do now is to log into Barclays Business Master and upload those domestic payments, browse to my file, and then upload those payments. So that in effect is B4B. Very, very simple, easy to achieve, and quite accurate and detailed in what it's showing you in the background.